Today, we're going to read a news article together, and by doing this, you're going to expand your vocabulary, learn advanced grammar, and improve your pronunciation. And we're going to read a news article on a very important and topical event, the 2024 Olympics. And this article is about the opening ceremonies. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started.
First, I'll read the headline, 5 takeaways from the opening ceremony of the 2024 Paris Olympics. Did you watch the opening ceremonies? Maybe you already know what some of these takeaways are, but you need to know what this word means. So what is a takeaway? A takeaway, this is a noun, and that's why you have an S on here, because you need to have a singular noun or a plural noun. So we have 5, so it's plural with the S. A takeaway is the main idea, lesson, or point, and this is specifically from an event, a class, or a conference. So if you go to a conference and you remember 2 main things, 2 main points, or events, important information, those 2 points are your takeaways. And you could share those with your boss or your colleagues. In a meeting, your boss could ask you, what were your takeaways? So notice it's possessive here. What were your takeaways from the conference? And then you could reply and say, well, my main takeaways are, and then you can list them out. Maybe there's only one and you make it singular. So at the end of this lesson, your takeaways could be a new grammar structure you learned, how to pronounce a specific word, and maybe you learned 3 new words and their meaning and how to use them. So those are your takeaways from this lesson. And my goal is for you to have many takeaways, because the more takeaways you have, the more valuable the lesson was. So if you're excited for these takeaways, then put let's go, put let's go in the comments. And I promise to fill this lesson with value. Now, don't worry about taking these notes, because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. Now let's continue and learn about these 5 takeaways, and hopefully you'll have a lot of takeaways as well. Beautiful picture of Paris here. An opening ceremony unlike any other got the 2024 Olympic Games officially underway in Paris Friday night. Now, one important thing to do when you're reading is when you see a word like got or be or have, is to understand if this is the verb on its own or if it's being used in an expression. So what do you think? Is this the verb get conjugated, or is it part of an expression? And what is the expression? Well, it's to get underway. To get underway. That's the expression. This simply means to start or begin. For example, the conference will get underway on Monday. Will start, will begin on Monday. But look at the sentence structure here, because it's an opening ceremony unlike any other, meaning that this opening ceremony is unique or special. Got the 2024 Olympic Games officially underway. So it's actually saying the opening ceremony started or began something else. And the opening ceremony started the Olympic Games. So it got it underway. It started it. So the sentence structure is a little different from the example I gave you, but the meaning is the same. In Paris Friday night, and truly it was one that will live on in Olympic legend. To live on is an expression that means continue to be remembered or have a lasting impact, which matches the context of this. Now, we also just have the literal verb to live, and then the correct preposition you need when you're using a street is on. I live on Main Street. But based on the context of this, you understand this is just a verb and this is a preposition. So you always have to look at the context to know if a word is being used as a verb or a noun or part of an expression. And in this case, will live on in Olympic legend. You might realize, wait, this isn't just using the verb live and the preposition on. So an example of continued to be remembered, Beethoven's music will live on for years to come. And hopefully this lesson will live on for years to come, meaning 3 years from now, students will still remember this lesson. Maybe you will, or new students will find this lesson and benefit because of all the takeaways they get from this lesson. So if you hope this lesson will live on for years to come, meaning a long time, an unspecified long time in the future, put let's go. And I want you to put let's go because it will also help you make sure you remember these concepts more. So put let's go in the comments. Here are 5 takeaways, main points, main events that you remember, important information, 5 takeaways from the opening of the 2024 Olympics.
Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, the movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily. Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's continue with our lesson.
Number 1, Paris shows off. Do you know what the phrasal verb to show off? So this is a phrasal verb because we have a verb, show, and then a preposition, off. And together, these 2 words have one meaning. Paris shows off. What does that mean? To show off is to behave in a way that is intended to attract attention or admiration. Important to know that this is often used in a negative way. So if you show off, that's generally considered a negative because it's annoying. For example, let's just say the average person owns 1 pair of shoes. Okay? The average person, you, all your friends, family, 1 pair of shoes. But I own 3 pairs of shoes. And every time I see you, I remind you, oh, I own 3 pairs of shoes. Look at my shoes. Oh, today I'm wearing a different pair of shoes. I think this evening I'm going to wear my other pair of shoes. I'm showing off. I'm trying to get your admiration or attention by talking about how many pairs of shoes I owned, and the number is higher than yours and the average person. And you would find this annoying, most likely. But there is a time and a place to show off. And in this context, it's not annoying because it's appropriate. They should show off. Paris should show off. In a job interview, you should show off. There are many times when this is important to do. It wasn't exactly the night that organizers would have hoped for, but the opportunity to put the City of Light, Paris is known as the City of Light, and its culture and people on full display was well taken on Friday. Okay, so this is saying that Paris took advantage of the opportunity to display its culture and its city. So Paris was showing off. But again, this is absolutely a positive thing in this specific context. So this is the first takeaway of the opening ceremonies. Now, I have an important takeaway for you during this lesson. When you're learning a new concept, like here you just learned a phrasal verb, for one, you need to know how to use it in a full sentence. So know how could you take this, put it in the past, put it in different verb tenses, ask a question, form a negative sentence. That's all important, but also know if this can be used in any other ways. So for example, there's a noun form. The noun form is a show off. A show off is a person who shows off. So remember my example of me showing off about my 3 pairs of shoes? Well, you could say, oh, Jennifer's a show off. So this is our verb to be. Jennifer is. Jennifer's a show off. Jennifer is a person who does the action, the verb of showing off. Now, the verb form would be Jennifer's always showing off. So in this case, it's a verb. What verb tense did I use? Well, we have this ing, and then we have our verb to be here. Jennifer is always showing off. Generally, with the adverb of frequency, always, this is a keyword for the present simple. But when there is a routine negative behavior, you can use the present continuous. And native speakers commonly use it, and it sounds very natural. Jennifer's always showing off because it's a negative behavior. So I want you to remember these 2 points as an important takeaway. Let's move on to our next takeaway from the opening ceremonies. The rain tries to steal the show. If something or someone steals the show, do you know what this means? The verb steal is when you take something that does not belong to you. So if I see this phone on a table in a restaurant and I take the phone and it isn't my phone, I just stole this phone. So to steal the show is to take the show. In this case, it means to take the attention, to receive all the attention, but when you shouldn't, because steal means to take something you shouldn't. So that concept is in this expression. The attention should have been on the athletes, Paris, the performances, the lights, not on the weather, right? So the rain tries to receive all the attention, tries to steal the show. Let's say you organize a family gathering and you want to announce to everyone, your family, that you are getting married, you're having a baby, you bought a new house, a new car, you got a promotion, something exciting, and you announce it. But then your brother announces something else and tries to get all the attention. So my brother tried to steal the show, take the attention away from me and onto himself, because my brother is such a show off. Remember that one? Now, interestingly, because we're talking about weather here, there is an idiom in English called steal my thunder. And that is exactly what this means. So instead of saying my brother tried to steal the show, you could say my brother tried to steal my thunder. Now, in this case, you could say the show or my show, but for thunder, you must say my thunder. You can't say the thunder, you must say my thunder. So now you know what that means, and you have a common idiom that you can use as well. Another takeaway for you. The rain had sent a warning Friday morning and threatened through much of Friday afternoon. But Paris's gray skies finally opened up about 30 minutes into the 3.5-hour show. So if the skies open up, it's another way of saying cleared. The skies cleared, the gray disappeared. You could also use just the verb open. You don't have to use the phrasal verb open up. You could say the skies finally opened, the skies finally opened up, or you could say clear. Now let's look into 3.5 hour. Well, first of all, why are there all these dashes? And why isn't there an S on hour because we're talking about 3.5, 3.5. That's more than one. Because this, what I highlighted, is being used as an adjective. In the adjective form, they generally put dashes, so it's easy to identify, but also the placement. And this is an important takeaway. Adjectives come before nouns, but adjectives come after articles. So your structure is article, adjective, noun. Very important takeaway. And adjectives don't have a singular or plural, only nouns do. And that's why there is no S. So how could you rewrite this to make our a noun and have it with a plural because it's a plural noun? How could you rewrite that? There are different things you could say, and this is an important exercise to really push your fluency and to practice and get comfortable with different sentence structure. Another takeaway. The show was 3.5 hours long. You can verbalize and a half as 0.5 just to make it simpler. The show was 3.5 hours. So this is our noun, our regular time reference, and it's more than one. So I put my S and you add the word long. The show was 3.5 hours long. So this is the noun, and then this is an adjective. Leading to perhaps the most drenched opening ceremony in the history of the modern Olympics. What does drenched mean? And notice that pronunciation, because this is a ch sound. It's a unvoiced sound. Ch. You just hear air. You don't actually hear a sound, just air. Ch, ch, drenched, drenched. So for this ED, we just want a soft T. Now, when you say the actual word, you're going to stress it more, but when you're saying it in a sentence, it is very soft. Most likely, you won't hear it, but the context will make it obvious that it's either the past simple or an adjective, because adjectives also use this ED ending. Drenched means completely wet. Another word is soaked. So if I'm drenched, so I am is the adjective, it means every part of me from head to toe is wet, which of course could happen in a very heavy rainstorm. So it's saying that the opening ceremony was drenched, meaning every part of the ceremony, every seat, every stand, every person, every object, everything involved was completely wet, soaked, drenched. So you might say as well, she was drenched in sweat. So another way you can get wet is with sweat, water or sweat. So she was drenched in sweat after the race. This describes most athletes, which is why I included it. Or you could say tomatoes don't like being drenched. I have a tomato plant outside in a pot, and it doesn't like being completely wet. It likes it when the soil is a little bit dry. It grows better. So tomatoes don't like being drenched. If you're a gardener or you do any gardening, this word will be very common for you. Let's move on to takeaway number 3, Celine Dion. Do you know who this is? A Canadian treasure. Celine Dion returns in stunning fashion. Stunning is a great adjective. It means extremely beautiful, but beautiful is very overused. If you say to your wife or your friend, "Oh, wow, you look beautiful. That dress is beautiful. Your hair is beautiful." Beautiful is just very overused. But if you say to your wife, "Darling, you look stunning today," it's not as commonly used, so it will be more impactful. And you can use this for your friend, a hairstyle, an outfit. Refer to it as stunning. After a stunning light show, so here's a great example. They're using the same adjective again, and instead of simply saying a beautiful light show, they're saying stunning. It sounds more impactful. After a stunning light show on the Eiffel Tower, one of the most iconic singers of the last several decades finally made her return to performing after 4 years. So if she made her return to performing, it means she started performing again. She started performing again, and this tells you how long she wasn't performing. So she wasn't performing for 4 years, and now she's performing again. So at this event, she made her return to performing. You hear this expression a lot with public figures, singers, actors, maybe even a YouTuber made their return to creating videos, singing, acting, performing after a period of time, maybe after, and then some event after her daughter's birth, after the tragic accident. So it could be a positive event, a negative event, but some event. Dion had been battling stiff person syndrome. Okay, so in Celine Dion's case, there is a negative event that caused her to not perform for 4 years, which is why now she had to make her return. So we often use the verb battle with illnesses or disease because it has a very strong emotion with that. When you battle it, there's a struggle, there's a fight. And notice the verb tense, Dion has been battling. It's the present perfect continuous because it started in the past and continues until now. This is an important verb tense because if I read she has been battling, I know this is still something she's struggling with, she's dealing with. So this isn't completed. If you say Dion had been battling, the past perfect continuous, well, I know it's completed. But in this case, it continues until now because that's what the verb tense means. So another takeaway in this lesson is really pay attention to your verb tense because it communicates a lot of information. Dion has been battling stiff person syndrome, a rare neurological condition that causes spasms. A spasm is when your muscles contract or move uncontrollably. Muscle rigidity. To be honest, I'm not too sure what this is, but if your muscles are rigid, it's another word for meaning stiff. So I guess at one point you have these uncontrollable muscle movements, that's a spasm, but then if your muscle is stiff, it could be very difficult for you to use that muscle, to move it if your arm is stiff. And it could also cause a lot of pain, I imagine, as well. I wrote stiffness because that's a very common term. You might even say, oh, my neck's a little stiff. So it means that it hurts when you move your neck in certain ways because the muscle is stiff. Rigid. My neck's a little stiff. I wrote that example there for you because very common for people to deal with stiff muscles. And a heightened sensitivity to stimuli. Stimuli is the irregular plural of the word stimulus. So you have one stimulus and two stimuli. And this is something that causes a reaction. So in terms of your body, light is a stimulus because if I shine a light into your eye, your pupil will react by becoming larger or you'll close your eyes. So the light, which is a stimulus, causes your eye to react. So she has heightened sensitivity, which means she is more sensitive. So maybe just the slightest light can cause her to really have a lot of pain in her eyes or have to close her eyes. So this explains why Dion wasn't performing for 4 years and then made her return. And what a better way to do it than at the opening ceremonies and in stunning fashion. Number 4, a Paris party on a Friday night. A long dance break in the middle of the show encapsulated the vibe that much of the show took on. It was party time in the French capital. Another takeaway I want you to remember is that when you learn expressions, vocabulary, you must understand the small words that are required to form the expression correctly. Because this is a mistake that I see with all students, beginner to advanced, but it really makes your level seem a lot less. If you say in middle of or in or on the middle of, if you make these small mistakes. So instead of just remembering middle, memorize in the middle of. You must know all the words, the correct order, and it's really important that you don't leave any out or replace them in the middle of something. Now let's take a look at encapsulated, encapsulated. This simply means represented or showed or displayed. So the dance break, people dancing in the middle of the show, during the show, represented, showed, displayed, encapsulated the vibe. What's the vibe? Well, I have it right here. What's the vibe? You will sound very much like a native speaker if you use this word. The vibe is the atmosphere or the environment. And what the atmosphere or the environment was, in this case, was a party. So Paris wanted the opening ceremonies to feel like a party, and this dance break represented that, encapsulated that. So the vibe. You can use this when you meet a new group of people and you can say, I don't know, I didn't really like the vibe. You go to a new restaurant. The food was okay, but I don't know. It had a bad vibe. I didn't like the vibe. You didn't like the atmosphere, the surrounding, the environment. And number 5, a magnificent cauldron lighting. So do you know what the cauldron is in the context of the Olympics and the opening ceremony? That is basically the big bowl, the big ceremonial bowl where they keep the torch. So they light the cauldron and it goes up in flames, and then that's where the Olympic torch is. And then of course the torch is where the flame is. That's what you hold in your hand. The torch was carried by scores of French athletes. Scores of sounds just like many. Many French athletes and other famous Olympians. Repeat after me. Olympian. And when the final torch bearers, a torch bearer is the person who holds the torch. The final torch bearers lit the Olympic cauldron. So they take their torch and they put it in the bowl. The bowl has the gas or the material that will cause the flame, which was attached to a giant balloon. It began to float. So the whole cauldron, the bowl with the flame, that's it began to float. The Olympic flame ended the night hovering over the city of Paris. Wow, that does sound pretty magnificent or perhaps even stunning. And the verb hover, to hover, this simply means to remain in a specific place or position. We often use this when something is in the air. For example, you commonly hear this with birds or planes, helicopters. If they hover, a helicopter hovered over my house. It remained in position over my house. So if the helicopter is moving, I wouldn't say it hovered over my house. If this is my house and the helicopter just stayed here, I'd be like, why is that helicopter hovering over my house? So a bird could hover in front of your window, remain in front of it rather than just flying by. So this cauldron that floated into the air, it hovered over the city. It remained over the city in that specific position. So now you have the 5 takeaways from the Olympic opening ceremonies, and hopefully you have a lot of takeaways for grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation from this lesson as well. What I'll do now is I'll read the article from start to finish, and this time you can focus on my pronunciation. 5 takeaways from the opening ceremony of the 2024 Paris Olympics. An opening ceremony unlike any other got the 2024 Olympic Games officially underway in Paris Friday night, and truly it was one that will live on in Olympic legend. Here are 5 takeaways from the opening of the 2024 Olympics. Number 1, Paris shows off. It wasn't exactly the night that organizers would have hoped for, but the opportunity to put the City of Light and its culture and people on full display was well taken on Friday. Number 2, the rain tries to steal the show. The rain had sent a warning Friday morning and threatened through much of Friday afternoon. But Paris's gray skies finally opened up about 30 minutes into the 3.5-hour show, leading to perhaps the most drenched opening ceremony in the history of the modern Olympics. Number 3, Celine Dion returns in stunning fashion. After a stunning light show on the Eiffel Tower, one of the most iconic singers of the last several decades finally made her return to performing after 4 years. Dion had been battling stiff person syndrome, a rare neurological condition that causes spasms, muscle rigidity, and a heightened sensitivity to stimuli such as sound and lights. Number 4, a Paris party on a Friday night. A long dance break in the middle of the show encapsulated the vibe that much of the show took on. It was party time in the French capital. Number 5, a magnificent cauldron lighting. The torch was carried by scores of French athletes and other famous Olympians. And when the final torchbearers lit the Olympic cauldron, which was attached to a giant balloon, it began to float. The Olympic flame ended the night hovering over the city of Paris.
Do you want me to make more lessons just like this? If you do, then put let's go in the comments. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And you can keep expanding your vocabulary with this lesson right now.